The auction hall stank of sweat and greed. Chains rattled as the alien girl was dragged onto the stage, trembling under the leers of pirates and warlords. Her violet eyes shimmered with hopeless tears, her blue skin glowing faintly under the harsh lights, horns framing her face like a crown no one respected. They called her a prize, a bride to be sold to the highest bidder. But in the crowd stood a man who didn't belong, a human engineer with oil-stained hands and fury burning in his gaze. When the gavel came down, it wasn't gold or weapons that shattered the silence. It was the crash of steel doors, the spark of rebellion, and one man's promise to tear apart the auction to set her free. The auction hall was carved from the hollowed belly of a dead freighter, its walls dripping with condensation and the metallic stench of rust and old blood. Rows of pirates sat on bent steel benches, their eyes glinting with greed as the auctioneer barked over the crackling speaker system. Chains rattled. The sound was sharp, cruel, and punctuated by the soft, frightened steps of the girl being led to center stage. She looked impossibly small in the grip of the brutish guard hauling her forward, yet her body trembled with restrained strength. Her blue skin gleamed under the dirty lights, catching beads of sweat that rolled down her neck, down to where a torn piece of cloth clung stubbornly around her chest, concealing just enough to mock the word dignity. Her long, silky hair, midnight blue with a faint purple sheen, hung in tangled strands, brushing her bare shoulders, swaying like a curtain that hid her trembling breath. Two sweeping horns rose elegantly from her head, smooth and curved like polished obsidian, a crown stolen from someone born to be far more than a slave. And then there were her eyes, deep violet, wide and wet, a galaxy of fear and defiance wrapped in trembling lashes. The auctioneer shoved her forward and she stumbled, catching herself on the grated floor with her hands, soft palms scraping on rust. A cruel laugh rippled through the crowd. Bidding began, credits, weapons, even war spoils were shouted, the voices rough and jeering. Each call seemed to drive her further into herself, shoulders curling inward, thighs tightening under the short, frayed skirt that barely reached mid-leg. But not all eyes were cruel. Near the back of the room stood a man who didn't belong, a human. His dark jacket was scuffed from labor, sleeves pushed to his elbows, revealing forearms streaked with oil and grease. His hair was mussed, his eyes sharp and cutting, tracking every move with quiet calculation. A small device hung at his belt, disguised under folds of cloth, but its faint green pulse betrayed its purpose. He wasn't here to buy. He was here to break. The gavel slammed once, twice, then sold. The hall erupted in cheers and mocking whistles as a fat pirate stood to claim his prize, his teeth glinting under the harsh lights as he licked his lips. But before he could step forward, before the chains could drag her closer to her nightmare, the hall shuddered. A low hum built in the walls, a vibration felt more than heard. The lights flickered, and then silence. The kind of silence that made every pirate in the room reach for their weapons. The human stepped forward, slow and steady, boots striking the metal floor like clockwork. "I'll take her," he said, not a shout, not a plea, just a calm statement that carried like a knife through the still air. Laughter broke the tension, sharp, mocking. "You got credits, human." The engineer didn't answer. Instead, he unclipped the device from his belt and twisted the dial. The freighter groaned. Sparks burst from the walls. And with a scream of rending metal, the side of the auction hall tore open, like a wound splitting wide. Flames licked the edges of the ruptured hull as oxygen rushed out, alarms wailing in panic. The pirates staggered, their footing stolen by the sudden tilt of the deck. The engineer moved fast, quicker than their eyes could follow. He vaulted the guardrail, hit the stage in a crouch, and snapped the chain from the alien girl's collar with a tool sparking with blue plasma. She gasped, more in disbelief than fear, her wide eyes meeting his as he wrapped one arm around her trembling frame and pulled her toward the breach. Behind them chaos erupted, pirates drew weapons, but the deck pitched again, sending bodies crashing against bulkheads. A crate of stolen plasma cells exploded in a wash of orange light, shaking the freighter to its spine. "Can you run?" he asked, voice tight against the roar of destruction. She nodded, barely, but he felt the strength in her legs as they stumbled forward together, her bare feet slipping on the angled steel. Her horns scraped the low frame of a doorway as they darted through, sparks raining from ripped conduits above. A shot cracked past his ear, close enough to feel the heat, but they kept moving, breath mingling in ragged bursts as they sprinted through the ship's dying corridors. Behind them, shouts rose, curses promising pain and blood. Ahead, freedom. The engineer's vessel clung to the outside hull of the pirate freighter, magnetic clamps holding it like a parasite ready to detach. He slammed his palm to the hatch release and half-shoved, half-lifted her through, catching one last look at the chaos behind. "Strap in," he barked, leaping after her. The clamps disengaged, and with a scream of engines the ship tore away from the dying freighter, riding a trail of flame and smoke into the black. The girl sat shaking, hugging her knees to her chest, the short hem of her skirt riding high on her thighs as she shivered, not from cold but from the weight of what almost was. Slowly, she looked at him. "White." Her voice was a whisper, soft, alien, trembling like a breath of music. He sat opposite, leaning against the bulkhead, chest heaving from the escape. His dark eyes softened, finally. "Because no one, sells someone like you in lives." The words hung between them, simple but enough. For now, freedom was their only bond. But as the stars stretched around them in a blur of faster-than-light escape, her trembling eased. And when her violet eyes closed at last, she slept with her head resting against his shoulder, the ghost of fear fading into something else, something she hadn't felt in years. Safety.